It's the Food and Society Reflection video. Over the last week or so, we've talked mostly about agriculture through Team Teach, and we were supposed to read chapters 4 through 8 in Guns, Germs, and Steel. I'm going to start off with the Guns, Germs, and Steel kind of stuff real quick, and then just kind of go into the Team Teach because that was really interesting to me. Chapter 4, Farmer Power and Guns, Germs, and Steel. I think this just goes to show us how much the farmer really does. I think so often it's a misconception that the farmer is just some guy in bib overalls that goes to work and looks at a cow or a chicken and slops some grain and goes inside and watches TV and drinks beer all day, and that's just not true. History's have and have-nots. That's chapter 5 through Guns, Germs, and Steel. I think this just really goes to show, it showed the different tribes and whatnot in the book, the indigenous Americans and whatnot. I think this just really goes to show us, how much agriculture, what I took is how much different agriculture in different societies is, and how much, it has evolved and whatnot. Chapter 6, to farm or not to farm. For me, that one hits close to me because I come from a family of farmers, I'm fifth generation farmers, so to me, that one, all the environmental stuff and all that, I think the cars, the industry, all that is way worse than production agriculture could ever be. I think, for example, we hear all these things about cow farts and how cow farts lead to gas emissions and greenhouse gas and whatnot. However, when the pandemic was at its highest point, we saw methane gas decrease dramatically in its numbers in the atmosphere, and there wasn't any less cows, right? We were just driving less, we weren't commuting, trains, boats, all that stuff wasn't operating. So I think that is proof enough that, production agriculture is not the issue that it's often made out to be. I think, when we look at the Team Teach, I think that was super beneficial as I think that got more kids involved, and I think especially for me, the agricultural one is a great topic to have kids be more involved in, as everyone should know where our food's coming from and whatnot. I think that, throughout time, society and agriculture has greatly changed. I mean, obviously, we started, corn came from Tesonite, 9,000 years ago or whatever it was. And ever since then, we've seen changes in the farming practices that we've used, from growing corn, squash, stuff like that, by hand to all the way the production agricultural practices that we're using in America, such as, in Lubbock, cotton gins and using all these things to make materials, not just food, but, so much of our daily lives revolve around agriculture. I think that when we really looked at the group teach, the Team Teaches, I think there was 3 groups. It was group 3, 6, and 12, I think, that multiple times in their presentations they said, I learned this about agriculture this week, and I did not know that before. And I think that just goes to show how much of a disconnect there is between production agriculture and the end consumer. For example, we hear about how farming is bad. It's doing all these things to our environment. GMOs, for example, is a big one. GMOs are so bad for the environment, for people. They kill certain types of bugs and stuff. The amount of good that GMOs do versus the amount of bad is incredible. Without GMOs, we wouldn't be able to feed the world. We wouldn't be able to eat, produce the yields and production that we have for our growing population. If we ban GMOs, let's just say the world would starve. It's plain and simple. We talked about in some of the Team Teaches, how much corn and whatnot and oils produce fuel and petroleum and stuff like that, byproducts. I think it's super important to know how much agriculture truly affects our everyday lives as Americans and as consumers, because a lot of people just don't understand that, as there's such a disconnect. And I think this topic in this week really helped bring people to knowing how much agriculture does for our everyday life.